Hi, this is Tom Parchman, University of Southern Maine, and in this short video I'm going to talk about the Maine All-State Technical Etude. I'm a clarinetist, so I'll have a clarinet in my hands to demonstrate, but most of what I'm saying will apply to any instrument preparing this piece. As I said, I'm a clarinetist, so I'm going to demonstrate with clarinet on this. This is a technical etude. This is not a piece of music. So it's somewhat contrived, and it'll take a little bit of work to make it sound musical. I'll get to that in a moment. So there are 5 things I'm going to talk about. And these are the 5 things you should work on to prepare this piece in this order, more or less: rhythm, articulation, dynamics, phrasing, and then how to prepare. So let's start off with this. It's 12/8. All right, 12/8 time has 4 beats, and each beat is divided into 3. That's how it works. You could write this very simply as in 4/4 time with 2 quarter notes and 2 sets of triplets. It would sound the same to the listener, but to the player it would look very different. So the real thing to work on in this is the fact that some beats are divided into 2, you can see right here, where the regular beat is divided into 3. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, for me, I use the syllables 1 and 2 and 1 and. There's some other ones out there, 1 ta tite, but I'm sort of old school with this. When I get to the triplets, I don't use those syllables that we use with duple. I use a different set so I completely in my mind can differentiate one from the other. So I would probably go 1, 2, 3 pollet, 4 pollet, just to remind myself of the triplet feeling. When I get here, it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 pollet, 2 and 3 pollet, 4 and. That's how this is going to work. Okay. So here's other examples of mixing. 1 and 2 pollet, 3 pollet, 4 pol. And then another place that it mixes. And lastly, so one of the essential things to work on in this is getting this duple or triple per beat worked out and being able to go from one to the other. This rhythm happens a couple of times. This dotted 8/16 eighth. This is probably one of the most misplayed rhythms in existence. You can think of it as a triplet. You can think of it as, we have it written here in the compound meter. If you do it very slowly, it's 1, 2, and 3. If you're thinking each eighth note. Da, 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 da. It's not da, da, da. It's not da, da, da. It's da, 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 da. The best way to think of this, as far as I'm concerned, I use the words Amsterdam, Amsterdam, Amsterdam. String players like to use the words pig, the big pig, the big pig. Only problem is pig, the pig is a little too late, so it's not quite accurate. Amsterdam, Amsterdam is probably a better approach. Articulation. All right, in this etude, you've got 4 possibilities really. What's normal? What is a dot? What's an accent? And what does a line of the note mean? So normal articulation, okay? There's no reason to play the eighth note short. There's no reason to play them legato. So it's not, it is also not, so it's legato, clearly tongued articulation. Clear articulation, pretty much as long as possible, but still clear. Staccato. What does staccato mean? Staccato means separate. Staccato does not mean short. Staccato means separate. So we look at this. Or short, but not pecky short, not separate, only separate. Accents. All right, so what the difference between an accent and staccato? Staccato means separate. The end of the note is shortened to achieve separation from the next note. Accents work at the beginning of the note. So it's important to remember, staccatos are not accented, accents are not staccato. So this is not, it's still, and in this etude, you have this tune twice. The second time, it's louder with no accents. Keep in mind the difference. Accent is the beginning of the note, staccato is the end of the note. Then you've got occasionally these long dashes over note or under notes in this case. In this etude, I think it's more emphasis than actual any change, so I wouldn't worry about a change in length, but in this case, it's juxtaposition with the shorter notes. Okay, but don't worry about trying to make these notes longer than the regular notes when you see it occasionally. I think it's just a point of comparison. One other articulation occurs, which is the clip. Now, this dot over the E flat right here, okay, does not mean that the E flat is tongued or separate. It does not mean, it means to shorten the E flat before the F so that there's space after it, but legato to it. And you do that on the clarinet by returning your tongue to the reed. Dynamics. So the thing about dynamics to remember is it's not just volume, it is also a quality. The word piano in Italian doesn't mean quiet, it means soft, like a piece of cloth is soft. So piano, mezzo piano, which is half piano, mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo, are 5 different levels that this etude has, and you should try to achieve it, but never at the cost of a good sound. Fortissimo doesn't mean blatty, pianissimo doesn't mean unsupported. One of the trick things in this is this forte piano passage with a couple of duplets in it just to make it interesting, with a crescendo to a mezzo piano. Okay, in something like this, don't think about the F being suddenly soft after being loud. Play the F loud and the C soft. Okay, the F is accented. Okay, it's forte, it's sudden, followed by piano. Then there's a crescendo, but that crescendo only goes to mezzo piano. So don't overcompensate with this. Okay. So we have crescendos and decrescendos. I've only got crescendos in these examples, but you can figure the others out here. The trick with this a crescendo is don't start it too soon and think about where you are and where you're going. Often with a crescendo or decrescendo, starting in the right place will really make it work. So if you start this too loud, you don't make much of a crescendo. I started just a little softer on that B to give me some space to go. So plan ahead. Don't immediately do what the decrescendo or crescendo says. Remember, it's gradual. Remember where you're going. Phrasing. Okay, as I said, this is a technical etude. And because of that, it takes a little work to make it a musical one. So you see I've got places marked here where I would breathe in this first part. Okay, so you see how I took a breath there, I phrased off, got a little quieter. In this one right here, so where I've got it circled here, to me, it doesn't say anything. It says it's all forte. But I am going to take an opportunity somewhere here to relax the dynamic slightly so I can make this G and F the target of the phrase, the high point. And you can only sometimes do that by backing away rather than keeping everything the same. This is not a computer. You have to sort of interpret as a musician to make this all work. This one, most of the time here, I would breathe on the rests. Okay. So, for instance, okay, if you need more air to get to this point, I would sneak a breath in after this C right here. Oh yeah, now here's this phrasing. That symbol means come to a complete total stop. With molto ritardando, this is going to end up sound at fortissimo, I might add. Something like that. Now, nothing here says shorter, so I wouldn't get shorter. I'd still leave kind of a space in between. Lastly, with this phrasing, here at the end, it says crescendo here from mezzo forte to fortissimo. And the way this one works, I think I would sneak a breath here and relax the dynamic slightly so I could really start the crescendo here. Okay. Okay, because I think it makes the phrase work a little better. You might want a breath in there anyway somewhere, so this is my recommendation as to where. How do you practice? Well, the first things first here, this is a very rhythmic etude, and you want to use a metronome. Why use a metronome? You want to use a metronome to go slower. You want to use the metronome to make yourself, okay, I don't want to go too fast. Hold yourself back. The tempo marking is 108. I would always suggest starting at half tempo, which would be 54 to the dotted quarter. The style, it says intrepid. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think it's suggesting that it be vigorous and active and non-apologetic. So use the metronome to discipline yourself to go slower. Don't go faster until you're comfortable slow. Divide your work in parts. I'm suggesting do rhythm first, then articulation, then dynamics, then phrasing. Okay. Divide your work into parts, one measure at a time, then two measures, then phrases. Put it all together when you have the individual parts ready. Learn each element separately. And when you start bringing the elements together, sometimes I start with the in and add going backwards. So if I practice the last 4 bars and then add 2 more and play it to the end of the etude is the part I practice the most. Pick a slow tempo. Don't practice your mistakes. If you're making a mistake, don't go faster. How do you know this? Record yourself. Make a recording. Use your phone. Use whatever you can. Record it. Listen to it yourself. Ask your teacher to listen to it. This is how you find out if you're right and you're on the right path. Ask questions if you don't understand. Ask your teacher. You can email me at parchman.maine.edu, and I'm glad to try to help. Have a good day, and I hope that this helps your preparation.